Okay, let me share out my slides. Okay. Put that up there. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special treat. Diane, someone needs to put their self on mute. I hear Diane, it's probably you.
I think it might be Diane. Yeah, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Diane and Jennifer had met at another function and just, loved each other. And we were so blessed to have her with us today. And so with that, we'll get started. So as you all know, C-Suite's a premier national executive women's organization. We are going into our 8+ year. So thank you for those of you. Some of you have been on the journey with us 8 years. We are expanding to 3 more chapters next year. Austin, Fort Lauderdale, and Denver, we just kicked off. So that'll make 11 chapters nationwide. And we are very blessed to have all of you as part of the community. Our mission, of course, is to foster executive women's relationships across all industries, for development, career paths, brand acceleration. And that is what we're focused on as we look to next year, is really to focus on growth and success. And so that's what we'll be looking at in 2026 and leading that through all our programming as we do both in person and virtual. We do have an executive search arm. So if you have or your company has positions that are needing to be filled, please contact Diane or myself, and we can help you on that journey. We can't do this without our partners. So thank you to all our partners and sponsors, as well as our philanthropic partners. One thing to note is we are going to be bringing on Make-A-Wish Foundation as one of our philanthropic partners. So as we go into the holiday season, please feel free to donate to these organizations because your funds serve so much in value to them. So today, we are going behind the scenes in beauty, looking at leadership strategy and storytelling, and we look forward to that. So I'm going to stop share, okay, and we will start the program. So we have Jennifer Raphael with us today. She's the CEO of Inventive Beauty Group North America. And Jennifer is a distinguished beauty industry veteran with over 25 years of experience. She has just left an indelible mark on this sector. She's a graduate of University of Western Ontario, and she began a career in fashion before finding her true calling in the beauty world. And so, Jennifer, is there anything else you would like to add to your background and your career that you feel the group would benefit from?
No, I just want to say hi and thank you so much for including me. I met Diane and I'm excited to be part of this, and I love women supporting women. We started a company many years ago, and it was very before women had their own businesses, and it was definitely challenging. And I'm so proud now when I look at so many of the brands launching, especially in the beauty space, are female founded. So it's a testament to people like you, Beth, and Diane, that you're creating groups like this that can support female in leadership roles. So thank you, and thanks for having me.
And Brian Floyd Austin is joining us as well. Brian is a top personal stylist from Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf. And Brian also is based in Short Hills, New Jersey, so on the East Coast. He specializes in daily wardrobe styling, occasion dressing for both men and women, and expert closet reorganization. And so how we're going to kind of run the show today is that Jennifer has a deck of information she's going to share with the team, and then we'll discuss some questions with Jennifer. And then we will have Brian expand on his background and go through some questions with him, and then we'll question both of them, and then we'll open it for questions and go around the room for introductions. So with that, welcome everybody, and I will turn it back over to Jennifer again. And be quiet.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this will work.
Okay.
I was telling Beth that I'm a Teams person, not a Zoom person. So hopefully you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Okay, good. Well, this is our company. We actually just redid our branding. So what you see on like the background behind me is our old branding, Innovative Beauty Group. And we this year acquired a branding agency as part of our services, which I'll share with you. But I'm so proud because they recently redesigned not just our logo, but really the mindset and how we work and how we can better serve our sector. So I'm happy to present, but I don't have a Zoom background yet. I have one for Teams, but it's too big. So Brian will be excited, but I actually started in fashion. I didn't elevate in the same manner that he did, but I loved Barbies as a kid. I loved fashion. I loved beauty, and my goal was to become a buyer at a store similar to Neiman Marcus in Canada, because I'm based in Toronto, called Holt Renfrew. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's a beautiful store. And as a segue to get to the buying department, I started in ladies fashion. I worked for Ralph Lauren and a French brand. And as I tried very hard to advance, I became an amazing salesperson and never got promoted to the buying office. So I had to pivot, and I left after probably about a year of trying to knock on the buying door office. And I moved into wholesale fashion and met a woman that I worked with just for about 2 weeks, and we clicked. I don't know if any of you have ever read the Faith Popcorn book, but we just clicked, and we kind of knew we wanted to work together. And she started our company and hired me as her first employee about 32 years ago. So a long time ago. With starting a company, we had a fax machine and we didn't even have computers back then. It was like the dark ages. And we really had to try to communicate with vendors in China, because we were building gift with purchase programs mostly for fragrance companies. That's how we started out. We were all women, and we had to go and try to find bank financing and knock on doors to go and pitch products to all sorts of brands and retailers at the time. And we really relied on each other because it was very tough to be, in business just as women. And it was very tough to find financing back then. Even when we were dealing with China vendors, some of our suppliers in the Far East, we would sometimes put like one of our husbands on the phone to pretend he was our president. We actually, I think, called him George Bush. But we just pretended that was our the president of our company, because they wouldn't take us seriously as women. It was very different back then. So we've come a long way. So Behind Beauty, so we are a partner, IBG, to brands and retailers, and we help brands and retailers launch products all in the beauty space. So we do a lot of skincare, color cosmetics, which, mascara, blush, bronzers, everything that you can think of. And we also do a lot of accessories. So we work with all sorts of factory partners all over the world. We don't own our own factories, but we ideate from start to finish for many of the brands that you would have, in your washrooms or whatever, in your makeup bag. So I think my key takeaways, and we're going to go into this more in the questions, but I think relationships have really paved the way for our company, definitely. And we always, because we're working for other people and other brands, we were able to stay very, very humble. We never really grew much of an ego because we were almost like a secret behind the scenes. So we would see products in stores that we had worked on, but the only people we could really tell was like our kids. But because, we're sworn on so many NDAs and things like that. So we had to stay very, humble to our roots and learn the ropes kind of one step and probably one mistake at a time. What my advice always for leaders is to really conduct yourself with like clarity and confidence, really building the vision. My team now, I oversee almost 200 people in North America, and I have to make sure that everyone understands clearly what the vision is, where we're going, and kind of drive the ship forward. I was lucky because as the first employee of our company, I really worked in every single position aside from finance because that's not my forte. But I have a really good broad understanding of our operations. So I always think it's important to understand all the different aspects of your organization. And then we can earn trust. I just recently interviewed someone, and he said, no one, I don't call myself the leader. It's everyone around me that says, oh, he's the leader, so that's always what we're trying to create. It's not really about the titles that like I acquired over the years, ending up as the CEO, because at the time many of my friends were being promoted and jumping from organization to organization with higher titles and bigger roles. But I really believed that if I believed in myself and believed in what we were doing and there was like purpose to it, that I could grow and get ahead. And so I'm so grateful of where I am right now. So talking sort of product, there are really no shortcuts. So we always are learning. We're learning about new ingredients. When you think about skincare and fragrance, there's always something new. So even though we're experts kind of at launching a product, we're always learning. We have teams of chemists and formulators that are helping us create amazing products. We also design packaging. So we do a lot of, we have engineers and we have industrial designers that will design like the outer like workings of like a lipstick, or in this case, you can see in the center, this is a custom mold design that sprays hand sanitizer. So we're always coming up with new ideas, but we do believe that the teams, in order to stay motivated, they have to understand what they're doing and like what purpose their role is playing in the bigger picture. And a big part of our organization is giving back. Well, similar to what Beth said at the beginning, you have your charities that you're supporting. And we also do a lot in sustainable packaging and sustainability and measuring our carbon footprint. And we have a lot of different accreditations, like EcoVadis is just one, but we have many others that we're trying to make sure that we're protecting the environment for the future generations. And I think that's all for me. So I'm going to stop sharing. But
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you so much. So we wanted just to ask you a couple questions. So you developed expertise in sourcing, cost negotiation, timelines very early on. What do brands most often underestimate about the production cycle?
yeah, I think that to launch a product takes a lot of time. We often kind of jokingly say it's like having a baby. So you really can't launch a product in any less than like 9 to 12 months. But the more customization that you have, the more time it takes. So sometimes things that you buy, they look beautiful on the shelf and the performance is incredible. It might have been like 5 years of someone, formulating. And sometimes we have like 12 rounds of formula development. So I think it's the time that it takes to make sure you've checked off every box. So it's hard to anticipate how much time things will take. It's always like people are like, how can I get it faster? But there's a lot involved in launching a product. So speeding it to market doesn't always mean that you're going to launch with the right product.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. I think it'd be interesting to also to hear what are the behind the scenes journey from concept sourcing, testing, production to retail. And just so all you guys on the phone know, Diane is the one that really had a great input in helping with all the questions and so forth. She's just not in a position to ask them. So anyways, Jennifer, if you can please elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, when someone comes to us and we get to in our industry, we meet so many interesting like founders and people coming up with ideas, but they really have to know, what do they want to, what do they want it to look like? What do they want it to, smell like if it's fragrance? Who are they trying to attract? And so we do a lot of work up front at the beginning, kind of just probing and asking questions and oftentimes helping them map out like what's the narrative for their brand, what's the storytelling, what does success look like for that product. And then we have a really big team actually devoted to like AI and like market analysis, market research. So we do augment, we do a lot of like social scraping, and I don't use the right terminology, but sort of, we'll check everywhere to make sure that the concept that we're putting together really makes sense. And we do use the data to guide us with our kind of like the human element and like our human expertise to help guide the right product decision. And then we work with our product development teams to, start the formulation. We find the right factory partner. So they may want something made in France, or they may want something made here, like in the US, or, in Colombia, wherever and they may not care where it's made. They just want to have a really good partner, but we help them map out who should actually be, mixing their formula for them. And then the great thing about what we do is at the same time, we can have our packaging team coming up with concepts, and we can present those and start to finalize what the, like the vessel, what the bottle will look like if it's a fragrance, and how their branding will look on the packaging. And we can do all of that in tandem, which does help kind of a speed to market approach. Because we now have a branding agency as part of our services, we can also help them design their logo, design the narrative and the hook or the storytelling that they want to have. And then we go into like, once everything's produced and it's run through our quality and regulatory teams, then we can go into like manufacturing. Once it's finalized, we can go into manufacturing. And then really the manufacturing part doesn't take all that long. Once everything else is organized and kind of figured out, then you go to manufacturing, and then the products end up, we ship them to a distribution center, and then they end up on the shelves of like Neiman Marcus, where Brian is.
That's awesome. Do you think the market's oversaturated as there's so many brands launching yearly? Even I think about our space, there's a ton of networking groups, but each one brings a different individual spin to it. So it's good to have all the difference. But I just wondered what your thoughts were
I
around
don't
that.
think it's oversaturated at all. I think that there's still a lot of space in beauty. We started our company in, I think it was 1993, and it was in a recession. And I think people always have some kind of funds to buy a lipstick or a nail polish or something. So I really think that we have a big landscape, but I have been super impressed with new, we call them like indie brands that have come out. There's just, you don't even realize that you need something until it's on the market, and then you want it. So I think there's still room for like excitement, and there's so much happening. And I'm always so impressed. Things stop me in my tracks in the stores.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so in that, what catches your eye? What do you guys look for as far as, is it the packaging? Is it the formulation? What stands out to you and how do you choose your products?
Um, because most of what we do is for someone else. So it's really like we're making someone else's dream come true. So it'll depend kind of what they're looking for, and then our creative minds start to go. But like me personally, when I'm in a store, I'm very drawn to packaging. I think packaging is like innovative packaging is really tough to find, and it always impresses me. But then I feel the formula has to match the outer packaging. So when you buy something that's just, like a national brand equivalent, you're kind of expecting it to be like regular, because it's not, usually the national brand equivalent products aren't something super like prestige or um, like they're more basic, but I feel like if you've got a beautiful package on the outside, you kind of have to make sure the formula is also equally impressive on the inside. But sometimes packaging and formula can really cost the same amount of money.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Um, you span, Amsterdam, LA, New York, Paris, Seoul, Shanghai, Toronto, and she's in Toronto today. How do you navigate all the cultural differences and the production standards across the region?
Funny because our team this year, our global CEO read a book. I think it's called Culture, and so it is really really interesting because we are all different, and we have very different backgrounds, but we follow the same corporate and like company values, and we try hard. We always have a company-wide seminar where the hosting country, all of the employees from that country will participate in the seminar. So the last one we had was in China with our team just after COVID. It was so hard for them. And then everyone comes from the other countries. We send 10, 20, maybe I think 10 or 12 people actually maybe from each company, like in the different regions to where the seminar is. So I think the seminar is a big help. We do a lot of internal communication. We're on a lot of Teams calls. So we don't really feel that we're that far culturally different, I guess, if that makes sense. And I think we're all really, we love to launch products and we love to collaborate. And we've been growing and there's a lot of momentum. So I think when you're in a group where there's a lot of momentum, you're all kind of headed in the same direction. Like all of our arrows are like pointed in the same direction, which I think really helps. And it's kind of fun. It's been fun for us to learn about other cultures and meet people from all over the world. So we feel really blessed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
With all the supply chain delays and the tariffs and the volatility that's happening across the world, I always say just don't watch the news. You'd be much happier. What do you see or recommend for brands entering 2026?
It is a very tough time because of all the tariffs. We this year had to pivot and find a lot of alternate supply chain options outside of China. We have a big team in Korea, so we moved some business to Korea instead of China, and I think in the long run it should be easier for all of us because we should have local sources. We should be able to buy packaging in Canada or in the US instead of having to go overseas. And it'll help on a lot of different fronts. But in the short term, it's very tough because we don't have all the factories set up here yet to satisfy all the different types of products and commodities that people are looking for. So it was tough, and I think it's tough for new brands right now because they might just have to pay these tariffs and kind of take it right now and maybe increase their retail prices to help offset that. But it really did happen. It really shook up our industry this year. A lot of what we do isn't available anywhere else. Like all the cosmetic accessories that we provide to beauty brands, it's really tough to find other suppliers in other countries that aren't just as impacted with the tariffs. So it's been like super challenging, but kind of, exciting at the same time because we found a lot of new partners and they have new innovation. So
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. We'll be coming back to you in just a minute for questions for
yeah, no,
both.
my pleasure.
Thank you. And Brian Floyd Austin, we want to thank you so much, Jennifer. Yay, but we'll be right back. So Brian, we would love to have you tell us a little bit about your background and bio, and then we have a few questions for you as well.
Hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So one thing I'm very creative, but in terms of tech savviness, that is not my expertise. So luckily I have a lovely assistant who's as helpful as possible. But let me just give you, hi, by the way, Jennifer, I really enjoy listening to your speech and talking about where you're coming from and your brand. I think that was, it's really, I took some notes while I was listening to you. It's just really great to see on the vendor side how that really works because I'm coming more from the retail end. But anyway, let me give you a little bit more of my background. So I've been in fashion for over 20 years. I started in college and I was working at Banana Republic, believe it or not, as a salesperson and kind of just find something to do during the evenings. And my major was psychology. And you really have to take the opportunity. It's going to be funny why this all plays back in. But my major was psychology. And I realized I really didn't want to hear people's problems for the rest of my life. So I said to myself, you know what? I really think I should go into business management with kind of a primary focus with marketing. At the time, I ran into a friend and she said, hey, listen, I know someone who works for Esquire magazine down on Hearst Towers. That's also the same company that owns Harper's Bazaar, so a fashion magazine. And I said, sure, let's do an internship. Make a very long story very short. I ended up staying there for 2 years and I was offered a job to come along once I finished my education from college. However, I graduated in 2008, and we all know what happened in 2008. It was the big crash, right? And I had a job lined up, and we all know publishing was one sector that was not able to fully rebound post 2008. So, unfortunately, at that time, the offer that was extended to me was then taken back. So I continued working at Banana Republic, and I continued to get promoted, and I was moved to a store in New Jersey, Short Hills Mall. I don't know if everyone here is or anyone's familiar with Short Hills, New Jersey, but it's one of the top 3 malls in the country. And while working there, I was helping a client one day in a store, and it happened that I just came out for a moment. That woman ended up being the store manager of Neiman Marcus. I got a phone call the next day, and her exact words to me was, I can change your life. I definitely think that you need to be working in a higher end retail versus where you are. Of course, I said, no, I'm good. I think I'm good. Because at that time, I had no kind of idea what Neiman Marcus was. I knew of the brand, but unfortunately, a college student, just graduating, I couldn't afford anything in Neiman Marcus. So it was never a store that I ever previously visited. Anyway, took a meeting with her and I was hired here 15 years ago. I am now the top stylist for Neiman Marcus in Short Hills and also one of the top 25 stylists for our company. So just really using that background to kind of make the point that starting low and you never know who's watching you. You never know. You continue just doing what you do on a daily basis. Someone will always notice, and that's how your life can change in a minute. I wanted to give you kind of have a beautiful background here, but this is a true essence. I blurred it out because I was a little embarrassed. But being a personal shopper, a lot of the job is really dealing with a lot of operational skills and boxes, product, managing personality. And I think that's where my psychology really came into play because a lot of the job really just managing personalities and also really styling people. To shift gears, we're going to talk a little bit about beauty because I love beauty and that's what this call is really about. So we all know the beauty business is roughly over $100 billion industry. It is an industry that is consecutively growing. We all talk about, I know Jennifer talking about recession proof, and that truly is. We saw that primarily during the pandemic. In 2020, when people were shut in their homes, the beauty industry was on fire, right? We still wanted to look pretty. We still wanted to get skincare. We still wanted to have proper hair product and make sure we still look great. And that is an industry that I find fascinating, and I continue to love everything about it. This season, a lot of that high-end kind of trends for this season is very simple makeup. It's all about a clean face, but taking a little bit of blush. I mean, how many women, I'm looking at some of you on here and I see some of you have like the beautiful blush on your cheeks, but it's really about having that clean finish, supple face, and really taking, and also a deep red lip, burgundy, very dark, kind of like we like to call that rouge color to kind of bring everything together. No matter what your skin tone is, whether veer more on the fairer side or darker, a nice blush, use the blush that sets the tone for your face. You don't want to do it too heavy, but just a little, just a little. Last year, there was a huge trend of the smoky eye. How many of us remember that? No, yeah, the smoky eye was big, and we all looked like we were, I like to say, auditioning for, Catwoman for Halloween. But we have veered away from that and we've gotten more to just really looking effortless. I know that quiet luxury streak was a big thing post 2022 when everyone wanted to look very simple, easy, and classic. And in regards to the makeup, that is a trend that's still going. So that's a little bit about that. I'm just trying to think of some of the fashion trends.
So maybe you could tell us, Brian, from your vantage point, what are some of the greatest growing or fastest growing categories at Neiman Marcus? Is it skincare, tools, fragrance, hybrid products? What are you seeing as the focus as we bring in the newer generation and so forth?
So just like we were saying, skincare, beauty is recession proof. Skincare continues to be a really, really growing business for us. Unfortunately, it's really transitioned, believe it or not. And for me as a personal stylist, and maybe everyone here can help me understand that through our conversation today, but a lot of that is shifting to online. I mean, you find that people come in a store and they try a product and they love it, and then they stick with it. So instead of coming back to the store to kind of add something new, they really just keep replenishing, as we like to call it, that same product. We know it's good, we know we look good in it, and we continue using it. Sometimes, with AI on a lot of these websites now, they would suggest a new product. Like, I see that you like this red, so why don't you try this blush? And that also helps grows the business, but typically people just do a lot of their replenishment online. And so for Neiman Marcus as a company, the business has been growing within beauty. And I think that's just incredible. And just when you think, similar to what Jennifer said, when you think this cannot go any further, I mean, how many red lips can we have, right? How many shades of red? There's a new company or new brand that comes and everyone just jumps on it and really go with it. I know Victoria Beckham we're all familiar with her from her clothing line and also her being herself, but she just started a beauty company roughly around, I think, 18 months ago, and they launched it in Bergdorf Goodman. And it's now trending to be one of the biggest beauty brands for Bergdorf Goodman in under a year. So whenever you think about a beauty line and you say, listen, there's just can't be no more, I'm still fascinated in seeing how something new can hit the market and just grow.
How do you get a product into Neiman Marcus? How does that come about?
So getting a product into Neiman Marcus is a little bit different than what we would think about traditionally when you're dealing with wholesale. So because Neiman Marcus is seen as a luxury premier store, we really typically would like your brand to have, right? And it has to have a following. You have to have a lot of social media presence. Your marketing, roughly on your own, has to be really, really strong. And then you want to really just partner yourself with a buyer, one of our beauty buyers. One thing I can say about our beauty buyers, they are so with it. They're in the know. They know what's happening. They're following the trends. They're seeing what people are buying. And they typically are reaching out to a lot of these brands and saying, hey, listen, we see that you're having this phenomenal business and there's a big trend. How do you feel about being in Neiman Marcus? But part of that also deals well with retail. And I think a lot of things that people fall short on is just when you're dealing with wholesale and now you're selling at such a larger scale as a brand like Neiman Marcus, you have to make sure you really know how to have accessibility of product and replenishment to the stores. I like to say quickly, just shifting gears, I saw a documentary about Oprah's favorite things. And a lot of those companies that, yeah, I don't know if anyone else is familiar with that documentary, a lot of those companies that blew up from Oprah's favorite things went out of business. And the reason why, because they were not able to keep up with the demand and this, keep it going, because the retail aspect of it and the production of it was just too large and too grand for them. So that's one of the first things Neiman Marcus makes sure when we're looking at trying a new brand, is just making sure that you're able to kind of maintain and sustain the business while we're selling through it. Because the whole intent is to really get it in more stores and more visibility on it.
So one last question before we ask both of you questions. Why do people work with personal shoppers?
Well, first thing, I think I'm looking at this group and I go, these are my women. Women who are busy, who are working and their day-to-day life just involves so much more. The last thing they have time to think about is their wardrobe, but they need to be dressed. They want to look appropriate. They may have a meeting, they may have an event. And so I deal with a lot of corporate women, a lot of CEOs, a lot of women who are making them way up the corporate ladder and really just helping them define, their physical look in relations to what they do for work. So that's a big component. And the reason why people come to me or any personal stylist for that matter is simply to take the job away from them, make that one thing less, take one thing off their table. Also, it's important to know that we see you differently than how you see yourselves. Mm-hmm. All look in the mirror and we say, oh no, this looks great on me. And I love that I have, this super dark rouge. Working with the stylist can help you take a step back and look at yourself in something else that you're not accustomed to or you're familiar with. And that really works tremendously with a lot of my clients. You take a jacket and you throw it on them and a woman would say, I only wear dresses or I only wear pants because I don't like the way my legs look. But yeah, you can wear dresses, but sometimes we just need to use a sheer pantyhose or an opaque tight. And maybe we really just need to have a right heel shoe, a shoe or a heel that elevates your leg to give the effect of you being much taller. So now you enjoy being in a dress versus you never wore it before. It's really allowing you to see yourself differently than how we see ourselves, to answer your question.
Or take us out of the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, that too. Well, right now it seems like we're going back. If you see some of the collections that walked recently from Paris.
I think I still like that really hard hairspray from the 80s. So now we want to ask both of you, Jennifer and Brian, some questions, and we'll go back and forth and then we'll open it to the audience. We already talked about recession resilience, so I think we answered that. And I think the question is, from both your perspectives, it's still true. But let's do changes in consumer shopping. Consumers want easy, fast, effective. Everything's on Amazon. How are brands adapting, and where do you see the gaps?
Brian, you want to go first?
This is definitely something that is challenging, even for myself, and I'm sure it is for Jennifer as well. People like things easy and accessible. And unfortunately, I have to be honest with you, sometimes, people take the time to make that trek to the mall. Yeah. And I'm looking for a jacket and you find the perfect jacket and you try it on and you go, I just need one size up. And I have to tell you, I have to order it because we don't have it, right? I think we've all have experienced that and being in a store and you go, but I made the time to come to the store. Unfortunately, the problem that occurs is the stores get all the merchandise, but because online and the business online is so strong and people like things to be in their homes so quickly, it takes away from the store experience. So that's where I find is the biggest gap in retail and also in the business now. We need to find a way just overall to learn how to keep both the online business and kind of the warehouse aspect separate from the store experience. Because when you're coming to a store, you want to be able to try on your size, right? That's why you went to the store. You saw it online, you like it, and now you want to see how it fits on you. And it's hard to be told, I'm sorry, you have to order it online, right? Because we don't have it. So to me, that is one of the biggest gaps that I think all companies, for that matter, needs to try to figure out how they can fill. I like to say that dark hole, because it's a really big hole that takes away from the experience of being a customer or a client coming in. Jennifer?
Jennifer, yeah, what's your
Yeah, no,
perspective?
that was really good. You're such a great speaker, Brian. Um, but I think with us, we're seeing a lot of brands wanting like almost like a trial size or a more portable size of things. And it's a bit challenging to price things because if you think about a nail polish bottle, the glass bottle and the brush, really just making it a little bit smaller doesn't make it like a third of the price. And then, when you're filling it with, just less nail polish, it doesn't really change the price that much. So it's tough for us to make like small portable, but I think people really want that small portable, very accessible product. Yeah, and I think the consumer is expecting the service levels of like an Amazon. You order it and it can be at your door at like 8 a.m. the following day. And I think that's really tough for the brands and the retailers to have that quick turnaround time. It's hard to expedite those shipments so quickly. And so the consumer can be, let down just because they had to wait 2 days for a package. But when you think about it, like 2 days really isn't very much time to wait for something, but they want like immediate, something instantly in their hands. So I think that's probably challenging.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. As we look at AI and personalization, rapid product cycles, what innovations are you guys watching closely in your businesses?
I mean, I think I mentioned that we're really using AI. We call it like our beauty intelligence tool to help validate some of the ideas that we have, because in the past it was just our gut feelings, which were, usually pretty right. But like we didn't have anything to back it up scientifically, I guess. So I think that's how we're using AI. And then just on a general trend, I think that like Korean skincare is like on a huge resurgence and coming back. And we're seeing a lot of interest in Korean formulas, and they're really beautiful formulas. So it's exciting.
Okay, good. Brian, how about you?
So for us, I really think we're using AI a lot to see how people are navigating, our website, or just navigating generally where they're shopping in general, right? So we're able to see that, kind of help curate looks and things that kind of fit within line with what they're already looking at or what they think fits for them. So AI is a great tool for that. But one thing I always say about AI, no matter how much it grows, thing that personal touch. And that's something you never get from AI. For someone to actually see you and see your body, touch your body, feel you, say, this is fabric, knowing the difference between a suede and a leather, right? And just really feeling the difference between a supple suede, a thin suede versus not. AI can't really do those things. And I think with specifically, and I think any industry and any job and anything we go into, it's the relationships that cultivate the client, right? So although we use AI, and I know here in this company we do it a lot for kind of to get more of what the customer is looking for from a shopping perspective, I just think what works best for us is that personal attention.
That's amazing. So let's give a big round of applause to our guests. Yay, great job for sure. And what I thought would be kind of fun is I know people want to introduce themselves. We can go around the room. And I love this question that Diane said that would be also helpful to our guests is what is one beauty product that you're gifting this holiday season? So why don't you introduce yourself and then answer that question. And I can go ahead and start. One of the things that I did was perfume. So with my sister. So that's one of the things I did. So Let's go with Bonnie and then Christine, who actually helped bring Brian into us today. So Bonnie Wims.
Hi there. Thank you so much for that. I found it also interesting. And Brian, I am a psychologist, so I can identify with the listening to people's problems. But I find I'll answer the question, but just I think psychology is in a lot of what you're doing also. So it's very interesting, isn't it, that you have that background. You just are applying it in a different way. So I'm Bonnie Wims. I am a counseling psychologist. I live in Chicago as of about a month and a half ago, moved here from Manhattan. And I work virtually with clients, a lot of people that you see here. Work with a lot of C-suite women around challenges around confidence and sense of self. And I liked what you said also about helping people see maybe something in themselves that they don't identify with naturally. I think I do that in psychology also, is helping people see themselves in a different way. Beauty that I've given this holiday. Well, actually, yeah. My two granddaughters are 6 and 3 and are really into makeup and dress up. And so they are getting inundated from grandma with all sorts of fashion, tutus, sparkly rings, a little armoire it's a full length mirror for them. So I've gone full in on their beauty regimen. I'm starting them young.
Christine and then Beth Neighbor.
Hello, and thank you both, Jennifer and Brian. Brian, I actually live in Westfield, so I'm not that far from Short Hills. So I am a kind of a shopping junkie, and I love your manager, Ron. I adore him. He is one of my favorite people, so I love to come to the store and just spend time hanging out with him because he's a treasure. You're very lucky, and I'm sure he's lucky he has you. I did want to ask a question since I'm in the area. I'm in finance, so I'm not so much in the beauty world, but I'm a great appreciator of it. You started to tip off talking a little bit about fashion, what the fashion trends are, but I don't know that we quite got there. I'm definitely a beauty junkie, and just to get Beth's question or Diane's question out of the way quickly, I've just given a plethora of things in the stockings for my daughters, all sorts of makeup and whatever products that they say are new. There's like some new lip liner that you can actually draw on and peel it off, which I thought was, I don't know if it's a good thing or it's going to end up being something freaky. And I'm a big skincare junkie, so I took care of my mother with like a huge array of those kinds of products. So we'll see if those actually work. But if you don't mind just kind of talking a little bit about the fashion trends, I'm very curious to hear what's upcoming.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Some of the big fashion trends for spring. So I know we're in the mix of like winter now, we're just getting cold, but from the fashion aspect, we are already in the spring season. So that's beginning to hit stores already. And you'll start to see a lot of those yellow hues and those bright colors and prints start to make themselves in the storefronts. Big trend this season is, if you're following how fashion works, is we take a look at what's happening in Paris. And Paris kind of sets the trend for what's happening. New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week. And one of the biggest designers that is really causing a lot of, I like to say, exceptional chaos is Matthieu Blase. And he is the new creative director from Chanel. So Chanel is the brand to look at right now. And what he's really done, and a lot of the other designers are falling in line and falling suit with, is really playing with shapes, right? Playing with a lot of different codes. We talked about earlier about 80s. You said you have the hair that is like super, the hairspray to make your hair stuck there like we did in the 80s. That, maybe not the hair, but the trends of the strong shoulders and the vibrant colors are really back for spring. Yep. Shoulder pads. They're not going to be as dramatic as they were in the 80s. They're going to be quite softer, but it's more of those neon colors and that pop. That's one aspect of the trend. The second trend that's really big for spring is very Americana. Ralph Lauren is having a major moment. Ralph Lauren polo is trending so well in a market where retail now is, it's shaky, right, in terms of fashion. But Ralph Lauren is having really, really great double-digit increases simply because people are going back to the root of that Americana look. Really nice blazers, kind of crisp white shirts and tucked in, really neutral colors. For fall, I know there was that huge moment of brown. We know that whole rodeo where people were doing a lot of Texas style cowboy boots and kind of tiered dresses were big for the last two falls. And that is continuing throughout the spring, but more from a color standpoint, more vibrant. And lastly, it's about punk, right? Different silhouettes and pants. We had the skinny went out, and it's about trousers. There were a lot of rumors that the skinnies are coming back. They were supposed to come back this fall, but they have not. And I love that because it's really about thinking of seeing yourself in a different silhouette in a denim. So really try doing more trousers, high waist trousers. What that does for you is allow your legs to look longer. You look taller, really like that Farrah Fawcett look where she had the really high waist trouser denim. Boot cut is a trend. It's trickling in. It's not fully in, but it's more about the trouser. Now, if you feel a trouser may be too much for you in terms of how long it is, they're doing the crop flare. So how many of us are familiar with the crop flare denim? So it's kind of like a straight leg, and right at the bottom, it kind of kicks out into a boot, but not into a full boot. And so you can wear a heel or kind of a bootie, and the whole shoe is exposed. So that trend is good. And layering. Layering is always going to be a trend, but it's so important that you layer with colors for spring and print.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. How about you, Jennifer? What would you like to add to that conversation?
Thank you.
You know what? I was going to say the red lips never going out. And I think Brian kind of said that too. But I think what Brian said about skincare, it's really kind of natural, but we are seeing some graphic liners. One of our clients is Stila, and they just launched really bright color, beautiful eyeliners. And so we're seeing that trending. I think they're called Chroma Flash, what they launched, but they're beautiful, beautiful formula and really bright colors. So I think that is probably what Brian's suggesting, that kind of going into punk and 80s. So that's what we're seeing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I don't know that we will unfortunately have time to go around with everybody, but I would like to open it to the group. And if you have a question, just introduce yourself and ask your question. Just come on and ask away.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Brinkley, and Brian, Jennifer, I loved your presentation. Brian, I got a personal shopper question. So how do you take a woman who's walking into the store and really give her that experience? How do you do that in a matter of seconds? What's your process?
So typically I work strictly by appointment. So if someone is just coming in, they would have to say, I'm looking for a personal shopper. You would be escorted to my office, whereas one of my two assistants will kind of take your name. We'll set an appointment date. And prior to that appointment, I will reach out, probably 2 or 3 days prior and just kind of figure out. We'll probably have a phone call. Hey, what are you looking for? What's your lifestyle like? Are you looking more for clothing? Now, once we set that, I ask for 3 pictures. And this is really good. And I'm just going to pose this question to you simply because you asked. I ask you to send 3 pictures. So 3 pictures are one of you dressed up, one of you casual, and one of you at work, whatever you do for work. Now, I have a question. Why do you think I would ask for those 3 images?
You're trying to get the whole scene, holistic kind of view of what's going on, and how do you show up in these other spaces, right?
Right? So I need to see how you feel most comfortable. And one of the key things that I always keep in mind if the woman in all 3 pictures, she has a V-neck, that means she likes her bust. If she's in a long sleeve t-shirt and her arms are covered in every single picture, it lets me know that she doesn't like her arms. She likes to disguise them. If she has a blazer on or 3 pieces on in all 3 pictures, it lets me know she likes to be layered. So when I typically ask for 3 images, it gives me a better sense of who that individual is. I'm able to then take what you like and then infuse how I see you, right? That process is usually an hour. You come in, We have like an hour appointment. The room is completely set with things that I think you would like. And then I also have things that I think you are best suited for. And then we go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Virginia, I think you had a question.
Yeah, and it's to either Jennifer and Brian. It looks like you guys tailor to individuals with higher wage scale, but we know that like Gen Z, uh, they grew up with technology and they do everything on their phone. So are you guys doing anything to market towards this generation who eventually will become our age and so forth and older?
Rachel, why don't you take that? Or I mean Jennifer, sorry.
Yeah, you know what, we are, because I think like the younger generation, they want to have this almost like they're buying a lifestyle. And so we're helping brands kind of create what that lifestyle is around that product. So there's a lot more connection, because I think they need to have connection to understand more about what their brand stands for and their ethos. And I think that's important for them. But yeah, they're probably buying things online, you know.
True. Rachel, you have a question? You have your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you both for this lovely presentation. I have to laugh, and I'm sorry my voice is still hoarse from being sick. Um, Big tomboy, and my mom was always trying to get me to dress up. So she would be so proud that I'm sitting at this presentation right now. And I actually went to learn to put on makeup formally, not I was 33, and I have a very self-deprecating joke about that, but it's not appropriate. So I will just say that you can learn new things, and you may understand where I'm going with that. But anyway, thank you so much, and I'm trying. I'm still learning.
Oh, you look great. And I'm sure it's so fun to play and try things. So it's amazing.
So just so you know, Diane had talked to Brian and Jennifer about providing a little holiday gifts or some gifts to us. Jennifer is going to send me a care package, and I will distribute it because of the shipping from Toronto.
Oh, and
Um,
I asked everybody for addresses. I just sent an email on that.
Yeah, so addresses, please do send them to me. We'll get them updated in the database. And when you send me your addresses, then I'll send them to Brian.
Yeah.
And Brian can take care of that on his end. And then I'll take care of Jennifer. And that'll be great. Okay, because she's dealing with tariffs and getting it across, all that stuff.
I'm
So,
having a tough enough time just getting myself across the border these days.
without anything else. But Brian and Jennifer, one piece of advice for 2026 for the group, and then we'll call it a day.
Oh my gosh, Brian has to go first.
Oh, me, I'm just going to say you have to go first. You know, one piece of advice that I would say will just carry you through life, and I think we should carry it more so in the next year, is really, really zone in on your individuality. And that's truly what it is. Fashion trends come and go, right? We can talk about what's trending now and what's trending next season. But what really makes someone who's truly fashionable is someone who's very confident in their own skin, you know, and you see people walking down the street and you go, oh my God, how is she wearing that? But the way she's wearing it, she's carrying it across the street, right? And that's really what I always say to every woman. It's just clothes, it's just makeup. It's about the person, and it's about how you really feel confident in what you're wearing.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Even for public speaking things, you know, you have to just believe in yourself, and it, you know, in a way, it doesn't matter what your makeup looks like, or even what your outfit is for that event. If you believe in what you're saying and you're speaking with confidence, but the outfit and everything, I think, helps you just feel more comfortable, or more confident. But it's really like your personal inside that you have to shine, and just believe in yourself, because nobody really knows everything. You know, like all of us as, you know, senior leaders in our companies, we, you know, no one really knows what they're doing. They have to learn on the job. Diane's laughing. But
fake it till you make it. Okay. We just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with us today in our community today, and we're going to have you part of our community as we move forward.
Absolutely.
And we want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Diane, you want to say anything? Because I know you have to be on mute.
Just thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate you so much and can't wait to grow with you next year. That's our theme for 2026, growth.
Amazing.
Thank you. All right, take care, everybody. Big hug. Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Same.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thanks again.
Thank you.